All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the assembled devotees. This is Vilasini Devidasi from California. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preethi, Vilasini, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, I think so. Your voice is little breaking, so I think so. We'll just check it over. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's also the room connection.
Yeah.
So let's move a bit. Is it better now?
So yes, Mataji, it is better now. So I
Better.
just want.
And if the
Yeah.
connection is getting weak at point in time, just let me know so that I can move to a different place. Okay?
Yes, Mataji, sure. So I just want to introduce 1 second, Mataji. So
Yeah, recording started. Sorry.
yeah. So today I just welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call today, and today our speaker is Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji on the topic Sri Caitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 11.1 onwards. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much once again. Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for giving your very valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on this topic. I would like to hand over the call to you now, Mataji. Thank you so much once again. Hare Krishna. Mataji, you are on mute, Mataji. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Radharani Mataji, and thanks to all the devotees for chanting so beautifully. It's such a pleasure to be back on Bhakti Sangha, which means everything to me. Thank you. So, we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Antya Lila, chapter 11, The Passing Away of Haridas Thakur. It's a very beautiful chapter, and also there is a lot of glorification of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the most compassionate incarnation in this age of Kali. So before we start, I'll just offer prayers and then we can start. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila Chapter 11, The Passing of Haridas Thakur. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschaityateshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as every chapter starts in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, similarly, this chapter also starts with a summary given by Bhakti Vinod Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. So, let's see what the summary is about. What are we to explore in this particular chapter? So, the chapter is titled The Passing of Haridas Thakur. So, in this chapter, according to the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, that is recorded by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this chapter describes how Brahma Haridas Thakur gave up his body with the consent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how the Lord himself personally performed the funeral ceremony and carried the body to the sea. He personally entombed the body, covered it with sand, and erected a platform on the site. After taking a bath in the sea, he personally begged prasadam of Jagannath from shopkeepers and distributed prasadam to the assembled devotees. So it's a very, very beautiful interaction of the Lord, an exalted devotee of the Lord, an incarnation of Lord Brahma himself, was ready to give up his body at that time, and the Lord did his final rites. So, as a part of his final rites, he very lovingly carried the body, bathed the body in the sea. After bathing the body, he entombed the body, meaning according to the Muslim rites, it was a family into which Haridas Thakur was born. So, respecting their tradition and their custom, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself very lovingly performed the funeral ceremony by filling the body with sand, meaning burying the body, and then he erected a platform on the site according to their customs, and then he took bath in the sea. And how anyone would actually respect the passing away of a Vaishnava, the Lord himself went, he took bath in the sea, he came out and he begged Jagannath Prasadam from different shopkeepers, and he fed all the Vaishnavas a very, very wonderful feast. So this was all personally done by the Lord. So imagine Lord Sri Krishna himself personally doing all these final rites for his dear devotee. So a very similar thing happens even in the Ramayana when Lord Ram, when he sees that Jatayu was passing away, he does the final rites for Jatayu. He himself does all the final rites for Jatayu because he considered Jatayu to be like his father. Because Jatayu, who was the great vulture, actually, he was a great vulture personality. He was a very close associate of Rama's father, Dasharatha. And because Rama considered Jatayu to be equal to his father, he made sure that he performed the final rites of Jatayu. Everything for the devotee. And here we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's so compassionate that he takes care of Haridas Thakur. And we all know that in a social setting, Haridas Thakur was born into a Mohammedan family, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu honored him so beautifully and made him the Namacharya of the Sampradaya. So the Lord goes beyond all externals. He sees the true sadhana and the true heart of a devotee. And that's what he exhibits in this chapter. And we will also be very fortunate to understand more glories about Haridas Thakur. Yes, we have been exploring a lot of Haridas Thakur's beautiful qualities and his glories in the previous chapters, but now we are going to see the pinnacle of his entire life, how beautifully he passed away from this world. So let's read the verses and then we'll get into some nice story. Because today, what we're going to do is we are going to cover from verses 1 to 45. That's a huge chunk of verses, and it is all storyline. Not many purports, just maybe one purport in the entire 45 verses. So we're just going to understand all of these verses and try to appreciate the beautiful qualities of both Haridas Thakur and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll read only 10 verses, and the rest of the verses we'll just pick randomly and read them and try to understand the meaning of it. But overall, we'll see it in a story format. Okay. So this is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 11, verse number 1. Namami Haridasam Tam Chaitanyam Ta Chatat Prabhum Samsthitam Api Murtim Swanke Kritvananantraya. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Haridas Thakur and his master Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who danced with the body of Haridas Thakur on his lap. 11.2. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Daya Maya Jaya Dvaita Priya Nityananda Priya Jaya. Translation. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is very merciful and who is very dear to Advaita Acharya and Lord Nityananda. 3. Jaya Srinivaseshwara Hariya Swarup Prananatha. Translation. All glories to the master of Srinivas Thakur. All glories to the glories to the master of Haridas Thakur. All glories to the master of the life of Swarup Damodar. So all of this relates to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse number 4. Jaya Kashi Priya Jagadananda Praneshwara Jaya Rupa Sanatana Raghunatishwara. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is very dear to Kashi Mishra. He is the Lord of the life of Jagdananda and the Lord of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. Jaya Gaura Deha Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Kripa Kari Deha Prabhu Nija Padadan. Translation: all glories to the transcendental form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Lord, kindly give me shelter at your lotus feet by your causeless mercy. These are all Mangala Charan prayers, and that is the reason I'm reading each one of them. They relate to both Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his dear devotees, so it is very auspicious to chant all these prayers. So we will be chanting all the prayers till verse 6. Jaya Nityananda Chandra Jaya Chaitanyera Prana Tomar Charana Ravinde Bhakti Dehadhan. Translation: all glories to Lord Nityananda, who is the life and soul of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My dear Lord, kindly give me engagement in devotional service at your lotus feet. 7. Jaya Jaya Dvaita Chandra Chaitanyera Arya Swacharani Bhakti Deha Jaya Dvaita Charya. All glories to Advaita Acharya, who is treated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as superior due to his age and respectability. Please give me engagement in prayers. 8. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Gana Gaura Yana Prana Sabha Bhakta Mili More Bhakti Dehadana. All glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the Lord is their life and soul. All of you kindly bestow devotional service upon me. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami who's asking this favor. Jaya Rupa Sanatana Jiva Raghunatha Raghunatha Gopala Chaya Moranatha. Translation: all glories to Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Gopala Bhatta Goswami, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They are all my masters. 10. E Saba Prasade Liki Chaitanya Lila Gunaya Cheta Cheliki Kari Apana Pavana. Translation: I'm writing this narration of the pastimes and attributes of the Lord by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. I do not know how to write properly, but I'm purifying myself by writing this description. So I'm going to stop screen share, and then we'll discuss some katha, and then we'll again go to further verses as and when needed. We'll recite those verses. So these were very beautiful Mangalacharan prayers that were offered by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, before he writes this very beautiful chapter 11, that discusses the final pastimes of Haridas Thakur, who is considered as one of the topmost devotees, topmost associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So before he begins to write the chapter, he begs for the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. So that is the mood of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. In a very, very humble mood, he's begging for their mercy to write down this most exalted Leela. And we have this very wonderful opportunity to glorify and hear this pastime. So how much more we should be begging for mercy? How much more mercy should we be begging for before we start discussing anything to do with this topic? If Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is begging so ardently to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, this chapter is so important because it just shows the greatness of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, he willingly becomes the servitor of his devotee, and he wants to glorify his devotee. He wants to glorify. So, following in the mode of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I humbly beg all of you to give me some mercy so that I can speak a few words following in the footsteps of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I'm pretty much going to just repeat his own words. What happened? What happened at this time? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we all know, was residing in Jagannath Puri for a very long time, along with his personal associates. And what he would do is he would persist in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and of course, he would visit the deity of Lord Jagannath in the temple. So, this was his daily activity. During the daytime, he would engage in Nam Sankirtan and also taking darshan of Lord Jagannath. However, during the night time, he would take association of two of his very close associates. And who are these close associates? They are Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. So one was Lalita Sakhi and the other one was Vishaka Sakhi. So as we all know, Radha Krishna, especially Srimati Radharani, is very, very close to her confidential associates Lalita and Vishaka. So similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in the mode of Srimati Radharani, always liked to take the confidential association of Ramananda Raya and Swarup Damodar Goswami. So during the evening and night time, he would take this association of both of his confidential devotees, and they would discuss the nectar of the transcendental mellows of Krishna's pastimes. So that was the daily activity. So like this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was ecstatic. He was very, very happily passing his time in Nilachal in Jagannath Puri. However, as a symptom of the ecstasies that he would actually undergo, he would feel separation from Krishna, and because of that, he would anxiety that he would have that he separated from Krishna. And these symptoms that he would exhibit, that is exactly according to scriptural injunctions, they would increase in the night even more. So he had transcendental anxiety, agitation, he would talk like a madman, he would weep, and he would do all this just like how it is described in the Shastras. For a person who's experiencing transcendental ecstasy in love of Krishna. So it is very important at this point for us to understand that, one should not cheaply exhibit transcendental emotions. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was showing the world what it is to be in love of God, and he was really exhibiting these wonderful symptoms. And Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai, who were his chief assistants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they made sure that they remained by his side all day and all night when he would undergo such intense emotions, to always give him support. So this is how the days were passing in Jagannath Puri when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing there. And we all know that Haridas Thakur was also residing in Jagannath Puri. However, Haridas Thakur, because he belonged to a Mohammedan family, he would not enter the Jagannath temple. He would rather prefer to perform his bhajan in a secluded place. So that is what Haridas Thakur was doing. And he would perform his bhajan in a very secluded place, and devotees from time to time, they would go and see him. They would visit him. They would go and take association of Haridas Thakur, and they would also always carry some Jagannath prasadam for Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur would not enter the temple premises or even walk in the direction where the pandas of the Jagannath Puri temple would go. So therefore, not only did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, close confidential associates, his personal servants, go from time to time to visit Haridas Thakur and give him some Jagannath prasadam. Even Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has been recorded to go from time to time to visit Haridas Thakur, take his association, and give him some prasad. So, like that, one day, Govinda, who is the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in great happiness, he went to deliver the remnants of Lord Jagannath's food to Haridas Thakur. So when he went to meet Haridas Thakur, where Haridas Thakur was residing, he saw that Haridas Thakur was laying on his back and chanting his rounds very slowly. He appeared very sick. He was not keeping well. So at that time, Govinda called out to Haridas Thakur and he told Haridas Thakur, please accept some Mahaprasadam. I've come here to give you some Mahaprasadam. Are you doing okay? So at that time, Haridas Thakur replied to Govinda. He said, today I'm going to observe fasting. I'm not planning to honor any prasadam because I have not finished chanting my prescribed number of rounds. Without completing my regular number of rounds, how is it that I can eat? I don't want to eat. But however, now here comes the important point. Haridas Thakur said, but however, you have brought Mahaprasadam. You have brought Mahaprasadam. So therefore, saying that he took a little portion of that Mahaprasadam, he honored it, and then he didn't eat further. Okay. Why didn't he eat further? Because he told Govinda that I have not finished my prescribed number of rounds, so I can't take a meal. Okay, that was his vow. He had taken a vow to chant 192 rounds a day. And that was the strict regulative principle that Haridas Thakur was following. So because he couldn't finish his rounds on time, he did not want to take a meal. However, this was Mahaprasadam. So what he did was he took a small portion of it and he honored it. Now, a similar incident, we'll just digress a bit. A similar incident happened with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So you all know who Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is. He was a great scholar. He was a Mayavadi. And by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he got completely transformed and he became a great devotee of Lord Sri Krishna. So after his transformation, one day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to the Jagannath temple to take darshan of the deity, and he got some Mahaprasadam. He tied it in a cloth. He also got some remnants of the garlands of Jagannath, and he tied that also in a piece of cloth, and he hastily went to see Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya so that he could give Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya a little bit of prasadam. And it was very early in the morning, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had not yet risen from his home. That is when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was actually rising from his bed. So as he was rising from his bed, he was chanting Krishna, 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 and he was rising from his bed. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was entering the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was rising, he was chanting Krishna, Krishna. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard it, he was so happy. He was so pleased that this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is actually chanting Lord Sri Krishna's holy names. So he just went hastily to meet Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he woke up, the first thing he saw was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at his doorstep. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was very, very happy, and he immediately went and offered prayers to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Both of them embraced each other, and then they sat down in a carpet. And as they sat down on a carpet, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very lovingly, he untied the cloth that he had brought, which had some remnants of flowers from the garland of Lord Jagannath. And it also had some Mahaprasad, which he could give Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he opened the cloth and he gave Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that Mahaprasad. Now, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had just risen from bed. He had not brushed his teeth. He had not cleaned his body. He had not taken a bath. He had not performed his morning Gayatri or morning rites. He had not done any of it. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he immediately, what he did was he took a little bit of Mahaprasad and he honored it. Okay, according to Dharma Shastras, it is actually very, very sinful to take a meal before taking bath. Okay, actually, there is a section, again, I'm connecting to the Ramayana. There is a section when Bharata, who's the brother of Rama, um, he tells Kausalya and other mothers that he had absolutely no intentions of sending Lord Ram to the forest for 14 years, and the whole thing was just his mother Kaikeyi's idea, and he was not involved in this idea. So when he's trying to justify himself, I mean, he was trying to tell the truth. Bharata was telling the truth that he was not aware of Kaikeyi's plans, and that, I mean, it just happened that Kaikeyi did it, and he didn't know anything about it. So he vowed to Kausalya, saying that if at all I was involved in such a horrible conspiracy, then let me go to a list of hells, okay? And in the list of hell, there is one particular hell. I mean, this is not a scary one because many of us have done it in the past. But still, one of the hells is if you have, sinfully eaten before taking bath. I mean, honored a meal before taking bath is considered very sinful. So Bharata, he makes one of those statements, and it's very, I mean, that's what Dharma Shastras also talk about. They say that one should not take a meal before taking a bath. So now it might appear contradictory that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is just, immediately when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering him Mahaprasad, he immediately accepts it. He just takes it and puts it in his mouth. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya doesn't stop there. He justifies what he's doing, why he's doing what he's doing. Okay, so he immediately recites verses from Padma Purana. What are the verses that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya recited? He said, शुष्कं पर्युष्यितं वापि नीतं वा दूरदेशतः प्राप्तिमात्रेण भोक्तव्यं नात्र कालविचारण. One should eat, again I repeat, one should eat the Mahaprasadam of the Lord immediately upon receiving it, even though it is dried up, stale, or brought from a distant country. One should consider neither time nor place. The next verse he recited was, Na desha niyamastatra na kala niyamastata praptam annam drutam shistair bhoktavyam harirabravit. The prasadam of Lord Krishna is to be eaten by gentlemen as soon as it is received. There should be no hesitation. There are no regulator principles concerning time and place. This is the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these verses from Padma Purana are also recorded in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, verses 25 and 225 and 226. And similar verses are also recorded in the Narada Pancharatra about honoring prasadam. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, immediately when he saw Mahaprasad, because Mahaprasad is not different from Krishna, it must be honored. You should offer prayers to it and consider it as good as Krishna. Just like when you have risen from bed, the first thing you do is, even before you do anything else, right? Even before you go and take a bath, what would you do? You would go and offer your obeisances, outside the altar in your home. So that is a great, I mean, as soon as you see the Lord, that's the first thing you do. Or as soon as you see an exalted Vaishnava, you don't consider time, place, circumstance, you just fall down, right? So like that, as soon as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya received Mahaprasadam, which is non-different from Krishna, he immediately offered prayers to it and he accepted it. And he quoted these beautiful verses from Padma Purana. So seeing all this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely pleased and he became so ecstatic in love of God, and he embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and the Lord and the servant, they both embraced each other and they began to dance. And simply by touching each other, they just became so ecstatic. They danced and they chanted, and spiritual symptoms were manifesting in their body. They perspired and trembled and shed tears, and they began to speak, with each other. They were so happy. At that time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that actually it is today that all my desires are fulfilled, because I see that this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was once an impersonalist, has acquired complete faith in both Lord Jagannath and Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasadam. So Lord Chaitanya was extremely happy that day. So similarly, following in a similar mood, we have here Haridas Thakur in this chapter, who was offered Mahaprasad by Govinda, though he had a vow, though he had taken a vow for himself to chant 192 rounds, and he was not able to finish his rounds, though he was feeling sick that day, and he had decided not to accept prasadam because he had not completed his vow. He still accepted the Mahaprasadam that Govinda had offered, because that is the way you honor Mahaprasadam. So, and Prabhupada, in the purport, he gives a very, very beautiful explanation of what honoring Mahaprasadam actually means. So he says, Prabhupada says, Mahaprasadam is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, we say instead of eating Mahaprasadam, we say we honor Mahaprasad. So when we don't say we eat, we gulp food. I mean, we eat food, right? But then when it is Mahaprasad, we honor it because it is so much about non-different from Krishna, and it is loaded with mercy of Krishna. And the particular verse where it describes Haridas Thakur offering prayers and accepting that Mahaprasad which Govinda had brought to him, it says Karila Vandana. That means he offered prayers while taking Mahaprasadam. So just like how when we have prasadam in our plate, we are taught to offer prayers, right? We are taught to offer prayers. Mahaprasad Govinde, we are offering prayers, we are respecting that Mahaprasad, and then we are honoring it. So like that, Prabhupada in the purport, he explains that Mahaprasadam is no ordinary food. So first you look like how Haridas Thakur did Karila Vandana. So first you offer that Mahaprasad. And Prasadam means actually favor. Krishna is doing a favor to us. Krishna is so merciful, and he does favor so nicely by giving us prasadam that can nourish our body, mind, and our soul. So it's Krishna's special favor, Krishna's special mercy. Actually, prasadam doesn't mean food, as oftentimes people we get confused. I mean, because we always relate prasadam to food, but prasadam means mercy. Basically, it's Krishna's favor. That is the actual meaning of prasadam. So, of course, we related to a plate of a plate of offered actually the favor of Krishna. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed this very beautiful prasadam prayers songs, right? We all sing the song Krishna Bada Doyama Krishna is very, very kind. He's doing us a favor. In this material world, we are all very much attached to tasting various types of food. Therefore, Krishna eats many nice varieties of food, and he offers the food back to the devotees so that even their demands for various tastes is satisfied. But by eating prasadam, one makes very great advancement in spiritual life. Therefore, we should never consider ordinary food on an equal level with Mahaprasadam. This is the statement made by Prabhupada. It's so beautiful. Krishna consciousness is such a beautiful practice. We all have bodily demands. We all need to eat to sustain ourselves. But even that is so purifying. It can be so purifying by the causeless mercy of the Lord. So that's why we are all very, very fortunate to be eating prasadam, honoring, not even eating, honoring prasadam. So that's what Haridas Thakur did. And the news, of course, Govind was no servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he carried the news to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I went to meet Haridas Thakur, and this is what happened. He was lying down on his back, he was not feeling well. And when I gave the Mahaprasad, he just honored it, but he really didn't eat much because he had not completed his rounds, because he felt that he wanted to fast, and because he had not finished his prescribed rounds. So he went and gave this report to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this report from Govinda, he hastily went to Haridas Thakur's place to meet him the next day. So he went to Haridas Thakur's house, a location where he was doing his bhajan. And he asked Haridas Thakur, so are you not well? What is the problem? I heard that you did not honor any prasadam, that you had not finished. Is your body not keeping well? So at that time, Haridas Thakur, he told Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that my body is fine. Actually, my body is all right. But it is my mind and my intelligence that is not keeping well. In spite of being in a state where Haridas Thakur couldn't even move and he was lying down, he was telling that my body is all right, but it is just my mind that is not all right. Because a devotee is much beyond bodily concepts of life, a very advanced devotee who is liberated. like Haridas Thakur. He was already liberated. He was in a liberated state. And he was beyond any bodily demands. So he was telling, no, my body is fine. Actually, his body was not fine, but he didn't care for it. Just like how Chaitanya Bhagavat, it records this very heart-wrenching story of Haridas Thakur being beaten in 22 marketplaces, right? So that is there in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 16. And in that chapter 16, there is one verse. This is verse number 135. It's a very beautiful verse. It says, Prahaladirayanaha smaran Krishna bhakti se mata Haridas Thakurera shakti. Translation: Haridas had the same ability as Prahlad Maharaj to remain fixed in remembrance of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Even when he was beaten in 22 marketplaces, Haridas did not feel any pain because he was fixed in the thoughts of Lord Sri Krishna and covered himself. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu covered Haridas. He is compared to Prahlad Maharaj. So it's so beautiful, just like how Prahlad Maharaj was constantly meditating on Krishna and absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. He was not even aware of the bodily pains, the torture that he was undergoing because of his father Hiranyakashipu, because the Lord personally gave him protection. The Lord covered him. So similarly, when Haridas Thakur was beaten in 22 marketplaces, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu covered him and took all those whips. He didn't allow Haridas Thakur to be affected by it. How was this possible for Haridas Thakur? It was possible for Haridas Thakur because he was absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. When one attains that kind of smaran, as it is described in this verse, when one is constantly thinking of Krishna, he's so absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So bodily pain or bodily inconveniences don't affect him at all. It's so beautiful. When one is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, Krishna personally takes care of him. So this is what was happening with Haridas Thakur. Even when he was in such a condition, he was just lying down and he was not feeling well. But still, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and inquired from him, what happened to you? Are you finding anything inconvenient with your body? He said, no, my body is all right. But it is my mind and intelligence that is not well. Now, one may question, so does it mean that materially, mentally, he was not feeling well? No, it was not that. So at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further asked Haridas Thakur. So when he heard that Haridas Thakur was not keeping well in terms of his mind and intelligence, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas Thakur, so can you tell me what exactly is your disease? Why is your mind and intelligence not keeping well? What is the problem? Thanks. Yeah. So when he asked this at that time, Haridas Thakur, he told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the problem is that, it's not a mental problem, mind and intelligence not keeping well. Rather, it is a spiritual issue. It is an issue that I'm not able to complete the fixed number of rounds that I have assigned to myself. So Haridas Thakur had to chant 192 rounds. It was a vow that he had taken himself, okay? It was, he's such an advanced devotee and an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? We are also fallen that we are forced to take vows because we won't, otherwise we won't chant. So unless we are being told, okay, we won't. I don't mean force means someone is pushing us to do it. What I mean is we are told or we are ordered or we take a vow to please our spiritual master, right? It's not that spontaneously we want to chant or something like that. We take a vow because we have been told to take a vow so that we can chant at least 16 rounds and get some purification. But here you have Haridas Thakur who has 192 rounds and he considered himself to be diseased in a spiritual state. So he was telling my mind and my intelligence is not keeping well because I feel very diseased and I'm not in a proper spiritual condition. And Prabhupada again, he explains that. See, Haridas Thakur is called as Namacharya and he was chanting so many rounds. For us, chanting 16 rounds becomes very, very hard. And of course, we are not expected to imitate Haridas Thakur. Prabhupada tells us. We are not expected to imitate Haridas Thakur, but whoever has taken vows has to chant a fixed number of 16 rounds, which is the minimum, and it should be loud and clear so that he and others, immediate people around him, can actually hear the Harinam. Because Harinam is so purifying that anyone who hears it gets benefited a long way. I mean, they may not be able to see the benefit immediately, but then it works. It works. Harinam works, prasadam works. So we always must have that faith, like how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had that faith, like how Haridas Thakur has that faith. So we don't imitate them, but at least we understand to follow in their footsteps and understand that we should develop that faith both in Harinam and in Prasadam. So Prabhupada very emphatically he tells that you have to chant your 16 rounds so that you are not in a diseased spiritual state. So then when Lord Chaitanya heard Haridas tell like this, that he felt very diseased because he was not able to chant his rounds, he very lovingly told Haridas Thakur, my dear Haridas Thakur, now you have become very old, and it is good that you may now reduce the number of rounds that you're chanting daily, because you're already liberated. Because you're already liberated, there is no hard and fast rule that you must follow all the regulative principles perfectly. So again, this statement to Haridas Thakur was because Haridas Thakur was in a liberated state. But however, in a conditioned state, like how we all are in, we are expected to follow regulative principles. We cannot say, okay, I'm in a liberated state, I'm going to stop following regulative principles and I'll stop 16 rounds. That's not for us. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur was already liberated. And he said, you really don't have to, do this 192 or something, just take rest. It's okay. And you continue whatever sadhana you can, because you're already liberated. And Prabhupada also gives the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami was also a very, very exalted Vaishnava. He's one of the acharyas, and yes, he's one of the 6 Goswamis. And he was also an example very similar to Haridas Thakur. So in the Shad Goswami Ashtaka, it is stated, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natabi Kalavasani Kritao. By numerical strength, one should chant. One should keep a numerical strength. Keep a fixed count, try to increase that count. So one should always chant with count, right? So that is what is described by our acharyas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also described that in great detail. And then we have the Goswamis being described as those who have kept this numerical strength and chanted Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natami. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he would very strictly follow regulative principles. He would chant plenty of rounds, and also he had this vow where he would and bow down so many times in front of Vaishnavas. So he had taken strict regulative vows, and he would follow those strict regulative vows very, very nicely, though he was in a liberated state. So these are the glories of Haridas Thakur and Raghunath Das Goswami, and they set an example for all of us. So then Lord Chaitanya, he told Haridas Thakur, you're already liberated, you can reduce the number of rounds that you're already chanting. And he said a very beautiful verse, which I want to read along with the translation. He said, Loka nistarite tomar avatar, namera mahima loke karila prachar. Your role in this incarnation is to deliver the people in general. You have sufficiently preached the glories of the holy name in the world. So he says, Tomar avatar. So you're specifically come, he's actually here, he reveals, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals that this Haridas Thakur is none other than Brahma himself. So Brahma himself has taken this incarnation for what? To preach the glories of the holy names. And therefore, Haridas Thakur is celebrated as Namacharya. And he came here to spread the glories of chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So like this, he reveals the identity of Haridas Thakur and tells that your mission is complete. You have sufficiently propagated the chanting of the holy names. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says I'll read what Prabhupada says. He quotes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that advanced devotees help the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his mission, and such devotees or personal associates incarnate by the will of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord incarnates by his own will, and by his will, competent devotees also incarnate to help him in his mission. Haridas Thakur is thus the incarnation of Lord Brahma, and other devotees are likewise incarnations who help in the prosecution of the Lord's mission. We have seen in every incarnation how this is very, very true. So you've seen in all the incarnations, when Krishna appeared, of course, great demigods and all his personal associates also descended with him. Krishna appears by his will. He doesn't have a karma, right? Janma karma chami divyam. He's transcendental to that. He appears by his own will. And by his will, by the Lord's will, his personal associates and exalted personalities like certain demigods that he chooses, they also appear along with him. So it was by the will of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Haridas Thakur had taken this particular incarnation, and he was here. Brahma was here as Haridas Thakur. So he said, now that the purpose of your incarnation is complete, you have sufficiently propagated the glories of the holy names, you can now reduce the number of times that you're chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And at that time, I have a plea. Kindly hear to what I have to tell you now. I was born in a very inferior family. I was born in a Mohammedan family, and my body is abominable. I engage in low work, very low work, and I am the lowest and condemned of all men. I'm actually unseeable. I should not be seen by exalted personalities. I'm untouchable. I belong to a family of meat eaters. So this is my condition. However, you are so merciful. You have accepted me as your servant. This means that you have delivered me from a hellish condition and you have raised me to a very spiritual platform, to Vaikuntha platform. You are the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you always act only by your own free will. And you cause everyone to dance as you like. Though I am in such an abominable condition, I am born into such a family, I am untouchable. Still, you have shown me so much mercy that you offered the Shraddha Patra in the house of Advaita Acharya to me, though the Shraddha Patra must be offered only to first class Brahmanas. And I ate that offering even though I was born in a family of meat eaters. So he says, that is your mercy. And there is an explanation about the Shraddha Patra. Actually, Shraddha Patra, we know the pastime. It has already been discussed in the previous sessions about the pastime of Advaita Acharya when he was making the offerings to his forefathers. There is a procedure that when you're honoring your forefathers during certain days, you have to invite Brahmanas and feed them. And there is something called as Shraddha Patra, which is extremely important, and it is given to a very qualified Brahmana. However, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he quotes from Vishnu Smriti. He quotes from Vishnu Smriti a particular reference about Shraddha Patra to whom it should be offered. So according to this verse, he says, if one is born in a Brahmana family, but does not behave according to Brahminical standards, he should not be offered the Shraddha Patra, which is the prasadam offered to the forefathers. Advaita Acharya offered the Shraddha Patra to Haridas Thakur, not to a Brahmana who was born in a Brahmana family. Although Haridas Thakur was born in the family of meat eaters, because he was such an advanced devotee, he was shown much more respect than a first-class Brahmana. So it's so beautiful. I mean, a Brahmana is not by birth. If one thinks a Brahmana is by birth, he's a complete, there's no meaning in it, absolutely no meaning in it, because a Brahmana is by quality. So a Vaishnava is greater than a Brahmana, and Haridas Thakur was the perfect Brahmana, was the perfect Vaishnava. So therefore, Advaita Acharya very lovingly he offered the Shraddha Patra to Haridas Thakur according to scriptural injunctions. So nothing Prabhupada did or nothing our acharyas did is out of scriptural injunctions. Oftentimes people think that Prabhupada made adjustments or our acharyas have made adjustments. There is no scope for adjustments. We strictly follow scripture in everything that we do. If scripture has given that leverage, yes, we accept it. So here we see very clearly Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he quotes for every action that is done by Apurvacharyas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, all of them, they always quote relevant verses from scriptures. So then Haridas Thakur, he told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you have been very merciful, I'm very fallen, but I have one desire.
Mataji, it is.
I think and I understand
It's
that when
breaking.
we are okay, let me okay, alert me anytime it breaks, and in within 5 minutes we'll wind up, and then I'll take question answer from some other place. Okay, so Haridas Thakur, he told that I have a desire very long time and very not wish to witness this closing chapter. Before the time comes when you are going to leave, let my body fall down in your presence. I want to catch your lotus feet upon my heart, see your moon-like face, and give up my body, chanting Krishna's holy names in my tongue. What a beautiful way to pass away. So this is what Haridas Thakur desired. He wanted to see the moonlight feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his chest and chant the names of Krishna and give up his body. So this is my, actually he says my tongue should not just chant Krishna's name. He specifically says my tongue should chant the holy name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. How beautiful, even better. So he says, I want to chant your holy name Sri Krishna Chaitanya and give up my body in this way. O merciful Lord, if by your mercy it is possible, kindly grant this desire. He didn't order the Lord. He just told, if by your mercy, if this is possible, if you can bestow this favor upon me, kindly do it. And let this lowborn body fall down before you, and then all my desires will be perfected. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this ardent request of Haridas Thakur, he told, my dear Haridas Thakur, Krishna is very merciful and he will definitely execute what you want. If a devotee desires something, Krishna is bound to accept. Krishna is bound to give that to that devotee. So he says, Krishna will execute whatever you want. But however, I will not be happy because I will lose your association. All the happiness that I have is because of your association. If you go away leaving me behind, how will I be happy? So at that time, Haridas Thakur, he caught on to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he said, don't create this illusion. Although I am so fallen, you have to show me this mercy. Don't reject me. Give me this last mercy. And why do you worry about losing my association? You're surrounded by so many respectable personalities. Millions and millions of devotees are fit to sit on my head. I am so fallen, and they will all help you in your pastimes. Why do you worry about an insignificant person like myself? He says, Amahena yadi eka kita mari gela eka papi male prithvira kahan hainal hani hala. My Lord, if an insignificant insect like me dies, what is the loss? If an ant dies, where is the loss to the material world? भक्तवत्सल प्रभु तुमी मोई भक्तबाज अवश्य पुराबे प्रभु मोरा ये आशा. My dear Lord, you are always affectionate to your devotees. I am just an imitation devotee, but nevertheless, I wish that you will fulfill my desire. That is my expectation. See, Haridas Thakur, look at how he sees himself. This is the underlying quality of a Vaishnava. Humility is extremely important at any condition in life. Haridas Thakur was very, very humble. You know, when the Lord said, "How will I live without your association?" He's telling, "Who am I? I'm so insignificant. I'm an insignificant insect. What loss is there for this world if an insect is not there?" This is how he considered himself. This is the quality of a Vaishnava. And then he said, "I am an imitation devotee." And he didn't fake it. He didn't tell that I'm an imitation devotee so that everyone would say, "No, no, 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 you're not an imitation devotee." No, he really meant it. But we all know that he was not an imitation devotee. He was genuinely telling that. And so he ardently requested the Lord to grant that desire. And at that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he just got up because it was time for him to perform his new duties. He got up and he left. And the following day, he went to Lord Jagannath's temple, and then he decided to return to meet Haridas Thakur. So very hastily, at that time, when Haridas Thakur made this ardent plea again and again, Lord Chaitanya embraced him lovingly and left. Okay, he didn't want to do anything further. He just embraced him lovingly. He left. The next day, he went to Jagannath Mandir. He took darshan and he hastily went to actually meet Haridas Thakur with all of his associates. What did they do after that? What happened to Haridas after that? What did the devotees do? What did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? Did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have to say anything more? All that we will see in our next session. So we'll open up for questions, and meanwhile, I'll just pause video for 2-3 minutes, but keep talking, and I'll to another room so that the question answers can be heard nicely. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Thank you so much. So happy to hear your session. So happy to see you. So happy to hear from you. And I really like, the way you connected to all the Goswamis and then Savamama Bhattacharya, how you connected it, all the pastimes, all the instance. That's really wonderful. And the only thing I can say, yeah, maybe we can invite some mood of Haridas Thakur that, without his chanting, he was not even accepting a grain. And, we are not on that level, but hopefully someday we can make some strict vows and follow those rules and regulations. But thank you so much. So sweet of you. Thank you for covering this wonderful subject matter. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Keshara Sundari Mataji. Yes, I'm so far away from that, and definitely, yes, it's very inspiring. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, for such a wonderful, wonderful class. I'm so happy to see you again. I request all the devotees, if anybody have any questions or realizations to Mataji, you can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Go ahead, Mataji, go ahead.
I cannot hear.
Hare Krishna.
So Mataji, such a beautiful class. I know I said I'll sit with the popcorn to listen to your class, but the
So we should
class
put you
was
on
so
spotlight as you were eating the popcorn.
no, I could not take the popcorn, neither nothing, because the class was so touching and it was such a sensitive topic and so much to to think over it. Like at that time also, Hardas Thakur did not want to have anything until he finished his rounds. And, we cannot even, or at least for myself, I cannot even say fallen. I'm not even close to the word called fallen. Like, I don't know how far away from that word also. I don't know. It's very touching, Mataji. Like, so much to go.
Yeah, I mean, Mataji, at least devotees are at least on the path. So that's That's the mercy of Krishna. Yeah, at least we are somewhere there.
Thank you, Mataji, for giving such an intense class and beautiful done, Mataji. I'll again hear it again. It's really, really wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. It's always so nice to hear from you. You're so dedicated. You log into each and every class in spite of so many time inconveniences. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, this is Karunika from Chicago. I'm meeting you.
Karunika Mataji, what a
So
pleasant
nice.
surprise.
And I was talking to Girijita Sundari Mataji yesterday that I was waiting for your class. It's been long, but such a beautiful Mataji. This subject is really, really high for me, but still you made it interesting. So thank you for your such a nice and explained class. And I hope I can see you personally too.
Thank you, Mataji. You were of great support to me. Thank you so much. And I feel so fortunate to be hearing your voice today. Thank you for coming, and thanks for all the support spiritually, emotionally, physically that you have rendered to me. Thank you.
No, Mataji, you are doing awesome job. We'll talk to you soon, but nice to see you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Karunika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful, beautiful class, Mataji.
Hari Bol, Vinita Mataji, Dandavats.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you so much.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda, Bol Vrinda. So nice to hear your voice.
This class, Mataji.
You understood, Vrinda?
Yes, Mataji.
Wonderful.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. I want to say one point. Yes, you were talking about eating the prasadam before taking bath. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, when I'm in India, I never have, because my mom has the rules that we should not eat before we take bath. But after coming to US, it was like, I get up after I get up from the bed, I take 1 each. I start talking to my mom until she sleeps. And then after she sleeps, I'm just immediately hungry. I was grabbing something, eating. No bath, nothing. Luckily, that life was very less. Immediately I met a devotee and then I started my devotional life. But I have eaten many times without taking bath. But now it has been years now again. It won't come again in my life. When you said about it, I was feeling what a bad life I was leading after coming to US. Very nice class, Mataji, beautiful. And I really like the point that you are telling, the devotee should not wait after you see the prasadam, immediately you have to accept it.
Yes.
Yeah, you were telling you have to accept the prasadam, right? It was very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinita Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Vilasini Mataji.
Kamadiki
Vrunda,
Mataji.
Bala Vrunda, she is on a transcendent, completely transcendent platform. And her
Yes,
mother
she is.
also goes with her.
Yeah, they get into ecstasy very easily.
Yes, they are very, very nice. Very, very beautiful. And very, very nice, beautiful class, Mataji.
Thank you,
Thank
Kamadiki.
you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Again, I've been a long time. This is Suksadri.
Hare Krishna Suksadri Mataji. Dandavats. Thank you so much, Mataji, for being on the call.
So nice, Preethi. Thanks. I hope we get to hear more from you more often.
Yeah, that will be the best part of my day. Yes, thank you, Mataji.
I will.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Beautiful
Vrinda.
class.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol,
Very
Vrinda Mataji.
very so nice to see you and hear from you after a long time, Mataji. I was waiting for your class. Thank you so much. Beautiful class. And you explained nicely about Mahaprasad. Mataji, actually about that pastime of Bharat Maharaj, that I couldn't hear it properly. I mean, can you please say that again, if possible?
Okay.
What was
No,
that?
yeah, I'll explain. So when Kaikeyi, because of her, she banished Ram, Sita, and Lakshman followed, right? So when Ram was banished for 14 years, at that time Bharata and Shatrughna, they had gone to Kekeyadesh to be with their maternal uncle. So eventually, after Kaikeyi had banished Ram, and after some time, Dasharath Maharaj, he passed away. And the news was sent with a messenger to Kekeyadesh asking Bharata Shatrughna to come back so that they could come back and to perform the final rites of their father. So when Bharat came back, he didn't understand anything because he saw that his brother was missing and everyone looked very sad. He didn't understand what had happened, that his father had passed away and all that. So when he came back, he was pretty shocked. And Kausalya, the Kausalya Devi and so many others, they were under, at one point, they made a statement which sounded like Bharat was a part of the conspiracy for sending away Ram, a conspiracy with his mother, Kaikeyi. So it sounded like that, okay? The way, because in frustration they were all talking, and Bharat Maharaj at that time he felt extremely bad, and then immediately he made a list of statements, okay? If I was involved, if I was responsible for Ram going to the forest, then let me go to this hell. So, like that, he lists different sets of hells, different sets of sinful reactivities, and the punishment for those sinful reactivities, what they attain because of performing the sinful activity. So he lists all of that and he says, let me go to all of that places if I was involved in this conspiracy. So in that, one in that list that he makes in that entire chapter, one of that is if a person has not eaten before taking bath. And I was like, oh my God. So I just said that because it's a part of the Dharma Shastra that you first shower, then eat a meal. So
Oh, yeah, got it. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. And Mataji, I was just interested to know which book are we reading after Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have you all decided?
we have some thoughts and ideas with a lot of devotees have given suggestions, and we have some thoughts and ideas. But you'll be excited. I don't want to break the suspense, but some of them have given suggestions, and we were discussing it offhand, nothing formalized. Still, we are open to suggestions. But one idea among the many ideas, one idea which I was very excited about is to do a Krishna Lila in great detail. So, which means Krishna book is what will be announced. But the speakers are encouraged to read the commentaries of our acharyas and strictly stick to commentaries instead of fancy stories, just the commentaries, because that is something that we want to watch on Bhakti Sangha. So strictly stick to commentaries and give very nice Hari Katha. So that is because I think mid morning everyone enjoys Katha, right? That's the pulse of the audience that we have seen. So no, they don't want too much philosophy. So we thought Hari Katha will be wonderful.
Yes. Okay, Mataji. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Just wanted to know. And I'm looking forward to see you again soon.
Thank you, Rinda. So nice to hear from you. Thank you, Mataji.
Krishna Preeti Vilasini Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Indu and Pranav. Hari Bol.
Very happy to see you and a wonderful class, Mataji. I'm so happy that you are here, and you always, I think for the last couple sessions, I think you have been the one who has introduced the topic, right? Who has been starting the chapter.
Yes, such a great fortune. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So you summarize the whole thing, and so beautiful, Mataji. A very touching section on how the Lord feels. He's so reciprocative with the devotees. Of course, Haridas Thakur is no ordinary devotee. So it's so sweet, very sweet pastime, Mataji. I have a question, Mataji. What is the, just regular question, what is the difference between prasadam, mahaprasadam, mahamahaprasadam? There are so many categories. What is it?
So this is what I have heard again from our own friends, Kirtida Sundari Mataji and others on the conference call itself, on Bhakti Sangha itself. What I have learned is prasadam is prasadam, meaning what you get, in the temple. It's basically what happens is Krishna is offered bhoga. He's offered bhoga, and those bhoga is collected, and when it is not mixed with the remaining pot, it is called as Mahaprasadam. Okay, because it's just those real, the first remnants. Once it is mixed up, it is called prasadam. This is the thing that I have heard from many devotees, so I'm just repeating that.
Okay.
And Maha is, I think, if I'm not wrong, please correct me. Feel free to correct me. If it is being tasted by an exalted Vaishnava and you get the remnants of that Vaishnava. Yeah.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much.
That is Maha. Yeah. But again, I could be wrong, and I humbly request if I'm wrong, please correct me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Dandavat
Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Preethi, Vilasini, Gopi, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Because of you, I am hearing from last 3 years. Shri Bhagavatam, Shri Chaitanya Charanamrut. Mataji, 5-6 hours cooking, I can cook anybody's house. But hearing, I hear, but not too much sincere, Mataji. So that always Chidam Akku said, Mataji, can you please come out from the kitchen and hear the Krishna Katha? But still, Mataji, I love cooking, but not serious about the hearing Krishna. Just hearing in the Sisi Bhagavatam by your instruction, but still not sincere. And then one day you just watch me, not saying single words. And that is the Shishi Narsingha Jayanti, something you are with your mother. And that is touched to my heart that I have to hear attentively Shishi Bhagavatam and Shishi Chaitanya Charanamrita. Thank you, Mataji, for giving us such a strong association. Jai Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. In today's katha also you explained about Haridas Thakur, Mataji. The mood when Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji came in this material world, he came with his pastor. So the everybody is like all demigods, and all are ready, gopis and gwalas, to take one role. So Haridas Thakur said that when I enter in a dham, you will I touch your lotus feet, Mataji. And Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji is dancing to take the body of Haridas Thakur. So how fortunate he is, Mataji. And all the Advaita Acharya and all the Panch Tattva भगवान भक्त के स्वरूप में आते हैं. तो what is the mood to serve Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So nicely explained all the Lila, eagerly waiting your every week your association and your blessing, Mataji. You are very special person in my life. Somehow now I remember at least 4-5 minutes and speak with all these teachers of Bhakti Sangha. All credits goes to your sincere seva. Jai Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Gauranga. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam to your lotus feet, dear Preethi Vilasini. Please give your association regularly. Eagerly waiting your association, Mataji. Hari Hari Gauranga.
Always so nice to hear from you, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Such a heartfelt, loving message. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. You're also a very big inspiration for all of us. We learn from you very constantly, each and every day, Mataji. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Mataji, we have some comments in the chat box. You want me to read those, Mataji?
Yeah.
From Lalitangi Mataji,
Yeah,
wonderful
sure.
class. Okay, Mataji. From Lalitangi Mataji, wonderful class. Thank you for taking us to where the pastimes were taking place. And from Radhika Kasturi Mataji, beautiful class, Mataji. And from Sukasagari Mataji, she already spoke, but so nice to hear from you again, Preethi Mataji, Nectarian class. And from Parima Mataji, very, very nice class, Mataji, Hare Krishna. And she had like, are you in India? She was asking me.
I am in the US.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you all so much for your very wonderful association, kind time and blessings. And Mataji, if everyone is okay, is it okay to end because I have to go for work?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji. Koti koti
Thank
dandat
you so
pranam.
much,
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji.
From all of us, will pay our obeisances to Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Granted. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrtam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Har Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your time.
Have a nice day.
very much,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Dandavat pranam to all.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare